Hello and welcome to yet another spectacular edition of Trendz Travel. As always, I'm your host, Louise Scoble, and today we've got a lovely lineup for you as we start way back in time in Paris as Spling takes us on a little bit of a photo shoot.
In here, you can be anyone you want to be. Kiki's Vintage Studio is just the right place to be if you have always fancied yourself a movie star of the 60s. Here's a fun fact about Paris. It's just over 100 kilometers outside of Johannesburg. Here's another fun fact about Paris. You can come in this venue as yourself and get out as somebody else. You can be as Victorian as you want, darling. And today I'm about to get my transformation on.
Well, hello.
What did I say? Look at that. How are you?
Marvelous, thank you. How are you?
I'm here to get my transformation on. Please transform me, darling.
Come inside.
Why do you have such love for vintage?
It's something that started really long ago that's always been a part of me. And it feels like I'm the custodian of all these beautiful old things. Where else must they go? So they come to me and then I take care of them and I bring them back to life. And that gives me joy, giving other people joy wearing all these precious things. And for example, this funny little thing that came my way. Can you imagine, Colleen, that somebody put this ridiculous thing on their hat, on their head, and went out for tea with their lover, thinking that they look absolutely exceptional.
It looks like a tea hat.
Yes. And so, who's going to look after these things if they're not being put to use and being taken care of with great love and respect?
Yeah.
With a variety of clothes in the store, there's really no limit to how far you
Race next. It's going to be magnificent, spacious and beautiful and absolutely magical.
Who knew that vintage can be so epic and so fancy and so classy? I don't think I'm gonna get out of this. So don't be surprised if you see me on social media walking the streets of Paris in my Victorian outfit, darling.
It is still Women's Month, and Puleng speaks to a young actress and playwright, Khomotso Motsunyane, who uses the arts as a tool to amplify women's voices.
The South African arts landscape is seeing a growing number of young female creatives who are set on telling women's stories from their own perspective. We spoke to actress and playwright Khomotso Motsunyane about her contribution to this movement.
I'm a writer, I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm a singer, I'm a producer, and I'm a patron of the arts.
As a newcomer, Khomotso creates definitive work that forms part of her signature as a performer and writer.
I've done TV before. My debut on television was at 14 with a series called Tetam Sawawa 2, and then here and there I've been cast in like Di Cameo Nyana, Di Ing. So theater is like, it's like my favorite pizza.
The name Matsunyani is quite popular in the arts, and being a daughter to director, writer and actor Neo Matsunyani, Khomotso often has to work harder to be seen as an artist in her own right.
But more than anything, really, my dad raised me with a very strong work ethic. That's something I observed in him growing up. My dad's highly professional. Super professional, and that's one thing he always wanted me to be known for. You have access to the space that I want to be in. How do we navigate it in such a way that I at least get introduced to these people or get auditions? I've never asked my father for work, and he's never given me work, or even my aunt, except when I was an intern behind the scenes on her production company.
He died because he was the chosen sacrifice.
And as an independent theatre maker, Khomotso knows the importance of creating artworks that are able to generate funding.
I'm building my profile off no money. I don't, the money I put in my productions comes from money I make on stage. And then I put into my stuff. I say, okay, with this money or whatever I shoot in the beginning of the year, earlier this year, I did a film. With that money, that's what did Deco Date. So how do I bring this back into the company? How do I build the profile of the company so that when we do source the R1 million, they're like, dang girl, yeah, you can have all of it because your receipts show you your work is successful.
So what does the future look like for this young dynamite?
Taking risks, it means being brave. There aren't enough people who are willing to say what they really feel. Everybody is hungry, and as a result, we find ourselves accepting things that we wouldn't normally accept. So I no longer take part in the conversations that happen outside or in corners. I don't do that. I speak my truth. So yeah, being an artist in 2019 is about speaking my truth, standing for what I believe in, and making sure that my work reflects me and my society.
Around her, near her, talking to her. I do not want to hear that you are accidentally seeing her. You hear me?
It won't happen again, Papa. I'm sorry.
She's just not right for you.
While we take a short break, I encourage you to whip out your phone and follow us on Instagram and on Twitter. That's on Trendz on SABC using the hashtag SABC News.
We're very keen to hear why Mrs. Zuma's character be assassinated.
Mzwandile, former President Jacob Zuma, doesn't believe that there was state capture.
He did qualify to say his understanding may be limited.
There's lots of red on the board behind you. Is it a true reflection of what's happening on the markets today?
Yeah, it certainly is, Nzing. About 0.1% lower thus far for the markets here locally.
Your money on market sense. South Africa needs jobs.
Sun City is not only about the Valley of the Waves. This resort has so much more to offer, and this year it turns 40, and Nadia joins in on their celebrations.
Just a few hours' drive from the hustle and bustle of city life is Sun City. Located in the Northwest Province, this resort is all about relaxation with so much to do at a relaxed pace, of course. We got the chance to explore the diverse history and heritage of Botswana with a visit to Sekhaetso Cultural Village situated inside Sun City. Sekhaetso means our heritage in Setswana.
My name is Kafiso Levukuvu. Kafiso simply means peace, so welcome to the peaceful village. Okay, so you're welcome in our cultural village, which is Sekhaetso Cultural Village. Let's go. Stop and go again. Okay, so before we enter the cultural village, we have to request permission from the elders of our village. By requesting permission is to show respect to them. You're all welcome. Okay, so this is our cultural village, Sekhaetso, where we give the history of Botswana. The 10 tribes of the Botswana, the 3 brothers who were fighting for their father's throne. And each and every tribe that you see around this village, it has its own totem animal. The Botswana people, they use different totems to define their characteristic, but you'll hear more when you get on the hands. So feel free to ask the questions. Our time is all your time. So when you greet in our home language, which is Setswana, when you say hello, Dumela. Dumela. How are you? Okay. Okay. Then thank you, Kialebuha. Kialebuha. Linma Kialebuha. Then we can mark that on my right. Do you want one?
Yes, please.
On the horse, I think you see the grass. Is to show the importance of nature. Instead of burning this grass, we use it as a decorative material. You can take it and make a broom. You can make a coffin, or birds build their nest out of grass.
No, but he said ladies.
Okay, and over here, known as Queen. Seratakama, known as Nwad. Bethwell, known as Nwagit. The three brothers who went to England in 1895 to request protection from the British Army. The reason why they went for protection is because they were under attack of Makololo fight. Do you know Makololo fight? Mm-hmm. When the Zulus were attacking the Soto tribes. I'm sorry if the Zulus are here.
We are here.
I'm sorry, I noticed. So it's when the Zulus were attacking the Soto tribes. So they went to England to request protection. So now we have three tribes, which is Bakwena, Bangwatu, Bangwakit.
As part of this unique cultural village tour, we were invited to enjoy musical performances which explore African cultural dance with a beautiful rendition of the Setswana dance. When we left the cultural village, the night was still young. As we continued with the festivities attending the resort's 40th birthday celebration. The theme was retro, and we did not disappoint. We dressed up in 80s fashion, all colorful, and so much fun we had.
Sun City has been around for 40 years, and we are celebrating this month. You are invited. How do you feel about the retro party?
It's beautiful. It's more exciting for me because I turned 40 this year as well.
40 years of Sun City since 1979. It's been long, eh? Exactly.
Tell me what your theme.
My theme, when they said retro, and I thought, you know what, why not high waist belt, ball bottom, one kilohanya. Yeah, hempenya na mantariana, henyani, talafata henyani, one kilohanya. Exactly.
Still in the celebration of all things female, Peleng speaks to poet and author Ntabi Sengjafta on her latest collection of poems in this week's Reader's Envy.
She is thirsty. She needs water to purify her lovely voice so she could sing her melodious song, that of birds. She is thirsty, like Jesus Christ asking water from a Samaritan woman, only not receiving any. She is thirsty for courage and wisdom, something she already owns but she doesn't realize.
The book was published in 2016 with poems extracted from 2014 coming forward. It's a tribute to seed planters, the people who come into our lives and plant in whichever way. I believe in every level of our life, for us to exude to the next level, there needs to be somebody who opens the doorway for you. And for us, I believe that's what we do. We plant in people's life, particularly because there are people who planted in our lives. So that is the whole intention of the book. It's a tribute to the people who came into my life on the journey of performance, poetry, of traveling, be it book fairs, we meeting other authors. There'll always be that somebody who builds or who plants a seed in you that somehow it will germinate and just blossom into something else that moves you to your next phase of life. This book particularly, 90% of it is English. It's only 10% where I'm playing with words, like the title suggests, Bao Planters being a fusion of Sotho and English. So you'd only find a word play in it in Sotho, but predominantly it's an English-driven book. initially I write for me, to express me, but then I realized once you publish, you don't own the story anymore. Whoever gets in contact with your work, with their own different interpretations of what the work says to them, it becomes all round. I have children's stories where particularly I'm targeting young people, but then I have programs where I'm dealing with young teenagers in and outside school, where they're actually even writing their own works now. And I have engagements with even parents who come to our shows and engage and bring their children with, their teenagers with. So the whole work becomes much broader than what you initially targeted.
Every now and then we really need a reminder of how valuable we are in society. We need a reminder of how great we can be when we come together as women. We need more times like these to spend time with each other and empower one another and uplift each other. So I think things like these are very important. I mean, it's not a thing that I do just once a month, it's every month. So this month was like a given that we have to do it.
And I'm totally inspired because myself, I'm into writing and I'm so into reading. So knowing that there are authors out there that like speak towards us, so because nowadays you just get books that are not that intellectual with what's happening around us and how like people grow up and what they go through. So I'm really glad that I came today and I got to meet her.
We'll be back with more of your favorites right here on Trendz Travel right after this very short break, so don't go anywhere. From London and Paris to New York and Las Vegas, Stomp makes music with brooms, brushes, matchboxes, trolleys, and just about anything they can find, including their own bodies. And right now they're in South Africa to prove that rhythm is a universal language. Come with us and let's have a look.
Well, Stomp is a show about rhythm, and on stage you got 8 performers, and we play music, but we don't use instruments. We use everyday things like basketballs, like a broom, and we create rhythm with it, and we do this with high energy and with lots of comedy.
So there are 8 roles in the show. Like you said, there's 8 performers, and several people, I think mostly everybody knows more than one role. Some people know 2, some people know 5, some people know all 8. So depending on how the schedule is written, one night's cast would be completely different to the next show. Even though there's mutual performers, they're doing a different role so that it changes the whole dynamic of the show. And you don't have to have any musical background. There was once a guy I've heard that just ran a hot dog stand, and there was just something about him that was interesting and that appealed to the creators of the show. Just when he was on stage, he didn't have any chops or any musical talent necessarily, but he brought something. He brought himself to the show, which they like. They like to have a lot of creative people in the show, not necessarily a bunch of drummers, because that's not what the show is. It's not just a bunch of drumming. It's also a lot of movement. So there's a lot of dancers who come in the show, a lot of tap dancers, and also a lot of comedy. So hot dog stand works perfect.
You have to be quite fit because there's no hiding in this show. There's only 8 of us on stage, and you can't hide behind someone else that's doing all the things. So you do have to be fit. But having said that, you don't have to be an absolute athlete. The show itself is very physical, but it's like it has like a flow to it. So we start the piece and we build a piece of music up, and it gets energetic, and then all of a sudden it like snaps down to nothing and it's quiet. And so that kind of like helps an audience like come in and like be like, oh, what's going on there? And then all of a sudden like bam, it's like loud again and energetic and physical, and everyone's running around, and then it drops down again and it's quiet, and there's 3 people on stage and doing something really small.
So what are the requirements, other than some physical fitness, to be part of the Stomp crew?
I think you have to have rhythm. It helps to have rhythm and be able to like count and stay in time. We are a band, you know. We have to rehearse, we have to practice. Everything is live, nothing is on a track. So you have to have a good ear for being able to stay in time.
Then it was our turn to get on stage and try our hands and feet at stomping, which is much harder than it actually looks. We start with some follow the leader foot taps and hand claps, doing this repeatedly until we get it right. Then again, softly. And then onto some more complicated body slaps until we are all lined up for our mini big show. And we're off.
Everybody ready? Cameras ready? Here we go.
Yeah, cameras are ready and we've got photographers in the way.
1, 2, 3, and 4.
Judging from my rhythm-lacking performance, I don't think I quite qualified to tour with the Stompers, but a lot of fun was had. Despite that, I left the stage feeling undeservedly confident and quite hyped up. And we end off tonight's show in true style with True Love's Night of Style, their annual fashion and beauty extravaganza. The Galleria Conference and Events venue in Sandton, north of Johannesburg, was transformed into a fashion extravaganza in celebration of Women's Month. South Africa's iconic fashion, beauty and lifestyle magazine hosted their annual Night of Style, a showcase of this season's fashion trends. South Africa's hottest celebs and VIP guests saw a premium selection of our country's leading names in fashion hit the runway. Matt Nolan wowed the audience with a compilation of bright fluorescent colors and a dab of the pastels. International brand Superdry gave us a million reasons to love summer. From their range of fun swimwear, a real crowd pleaser, to their jumpsuits, summer dresses, casual jeans and wispy tops. Rubicon dazzled in evening wear, the extension of the LBD, the little black dress. Whether you like it flowy or tight, or a combination of both, the LBD is here to stay. Or why not try a pop of color and texture for those bolder nights out? A beautifully regal look. Local brand Rough Tongue brought sparkle, sexy and sassy back, lighting up the runway like a 1980s disco ball. Its dazzling, glittery and shiny attitude twinkle as it left stars in the eyes of everyone in attendance. There was even a little something for those considered plus size, with an extra dose of feisty, vivacious and meow. And of course, the evening's showstoppers. Shimmering, flowy and fairy tale-like with an air of royalty. This golden ball gown gives true meaning to the phrase, Princess of the Catwalk. But who says royalty can't kick it up a notch? Every glamorous gown was made to be seen on the ultimate dance floor. It's party time, and as the models leave the stage, that's exactly what happened next. And that's all we have here in this week's edition of Trendz Travel. We hope to see you again next week, same time, same place. And don't forget that you can catch us on Twitter or on Instagram. That's on Trendz on SABC using the hashtag SABC News.
Good evening. You could have what could soon become your winning ticket. Get it out as we're about to find out.